So hello and welcome to this brand new podcast, 7 Skills for the Future. My name is Emma Sue Prince and I'm joined by my producer, James.
Hello, lovely to be here, Emma Sue.
I'd like to talk about the idea of this podcast and what it's going to be about. 7 skills for the future. The key is in the name. These are skills that we all need to tap into much more now than we ever have had to before. These are skills that are inside us. And I believe that the world we're living in is changing so much, has changed so much, that the best way that we can equip ourselves is through these skills. So in this podcast, I'll be talking to key experts in the field, talking about happiness, talking about how we learn, and focusing on the 7 skills in particular.
Can you just go into a bit more detail about what the 7 skills actually are?
Yes, of course. So there are 7, and they are adaptability. And this is the ability to be resilient and to cope well when things don't go as expected and to be very agile and resourceful. The second is critical thinking, and that's less about philosophizing as such, but much more about really challenging assumptions, being able to look at things from different angles, having really good problem-solving skills. The third one is empathy. Empathy can transform every single relationship you have, whether professional or personal, really important now in how we operate. Integrity, which many people don't actually know what it is, but that's all about your values and how you live your life and how you make key decisions in your life, direction that you're going in. The 5th one is optimism, and that's about really developing the skill of optimism. Some people may not believe it is a skill, but I'm going to tell you that it is. The 6th one is being proactive. This is crucial for being able to reinvent yourself, being able to really reach the goals that you set for yourself, and to put your energy into the things that you can control rather than things that you can't control, which is what we like to do. And the last one is resilience, which is really key for coping with stress, coping with setbacks, being able to bounce back from rejection. And it's these 7 skills that I believe are vital to how we live and work and be successful and happy today. So these skills are really about becoming better versions of ourselves and reaching our true potential, and that we have these things deep inside of us. And I believe that we need them more than ever because we're experiencing so many changes in our world. And there are some key drivers of change that are really impacting the way that we live and work today.
Okay, so can you begin by telling us what's the first of these drivers of change?
Yes, so the first is technology. Technology is impacting every single aspect of our lives. It gives us incredible freedom. We've got unlimited choice as consumers. We have access to everything. We can have food in minutes from anywhere. We can access billions of people all over the world. But we're also really bombarded with a lot of information. And I think there's also some uncertainty and insecurity about our work. So when we look at people entering the workplace or who will be entering the workplace, there's a lot of talk about how jobs are going to change completely, everything's going to be automated, and so on, which isn't necessarily the case, actually. But it's about how we're using technology, how we manage technology, and to what extent we're able to keep learning and keep invigorating what we're doing, and really understand how technology changes our work and changes our lives, and how we handle that. I don't think it's something we're handling very well right now.
Okay, so do you think most people see technology as a threat or as an opportunity at the moment?
I think it depends very much where they are in their lives, So obviously younger people have grown up with technology, so it's something that they just have at their fingertips all the time. But perhaps they're not managing it that well. Whereas older people maybe feel overwhelmed sometimes with how much there is to learn and how much is changing. We live in a sharing economy, so that brings in lots of opportunities for doing business in a completely different way. Lots of the way that we currently do things in industries is being disrupted by technology. So lots of new businesses that are coming in now are really businesses that are disrupting banking or, finance or, how we do things. So I think that can feel a bit threatening, but it needn't be. We can embrace it and we can learn how to use that to our advantage.
Okay, good. Okay, let's move on to the second one. What's the second?
So the second one is globalization, which of course has been with us for a long, long time now. But really, this is about the changing world and the changing geopolitical landscape and how different countries are now rising to the fore. And so we are just living in a very different age. And that means that we can, we've got opportunities to work in any part of the world that we want to, do business in any part of the world that we want to. But there are also some very real threats there, or perceived threats rather, where you've got a rising population in the East who are very skilled, very talented, are probably a bit of a threat to perhaps our workforces here. So I think also what's changing as well is that, people are moving more into cities. So, by 2030, there's a projection that we'll have 4.9 billion people will be living in cities, which will change, the world's urban population. So, some of the world's biggest cities have got a GDP that's larger than many economies. And that's kind of unprecedented, those kinds of changes. And we've got countries that are just changing, rising in power. So Brazil, Indonesia, Turkey, Africa to some extent, India, all of these amazing places, China, Malaysia, are really growing and growing and growing. And that has an impact on how we're working and how we're living as well.
Okay. And the next one?
So current demographic changes that we're experiencing will actually have a significant impact on how we live and work. And that means they also have a ripple impact on healthcare, on finance, on housing and education. So the world's population generally, very generally, is aging. And we are living for a lot longer. So children that are born today will definitely see their 100th birthday. And all of us are living and working for much longer, which has an impact, which means that, that will impact how you work, what you're doing, what kind of work you're doing, and the fact that we need to have sufficient money to be able to hopefully enjoy a great lifestyle when we're older as well. And I think young people especially need to develop these 7 skills too, so that they can really grab hold of some of the opportunities that are coming up and be able to build these new businesses and different ways of working. And I think there'll also be more of maybe there'll be more of a change back to old-fashioned mentoring, where older people might work with younger people. And certainly businesses have to be thinking, how do they retain the valuable knowledge and experience of a senior workforce, and at the same time capture the vitality of a young, diverse workforce? So those are challenges for business. But I think whatever age you continue working to, if you're going to be doing that until you're much older, it's really important that you're doing something that you really love and that plays to your strengths.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is something which people will need to think about a lot more.
Yeah, and I suppose adaptability is particularly important here, isn't it?
Yes, adaptability, being able to reinvent yourself and change what you're doing. And the way, a lot of the ways that we're working is changing as well. So there's a lot more option to work flexibly, but also about resilience, because you need to be able to look after yourself. You need to build strong networks, whether that's professional or personal, but strong networks, really find a sense of purpose. And you really have to get good at embracing change and being okay with change, so that's another part of it as well.
That's true, and that's a big challenge for some people, isn't it? So
yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next driver of change?
Now, the next one is health, and again, that is also connected with demographic changes, certainly in the West, because we are living longer. So living longer is great, but it's not great if those extra years are spent suffering from poor health. Yeah. So this is all about, living in better states of health and being much more aware and responsible for our own health. That's a big trend now, in terms of our diet and our lifestyle and exercise and so on. But also the nature of our health problems is also changing because of kind of global aging. 70% of all deaths of people over 70 are more likely to be suffering from multiple chronic kinds of conditions. A bit depressing to think about that, but we need to think about it because it is about having much more awareness of how we look after ourselves when we're younger, so that we can live healthily and be healthy when we are older, when we are 70, 80, 90, even 100 years old. There's no reason why we can't be healthy and happy at this older age. So health and lifestyle is linked very much to inner resources and skills, I think. So it's actually proven that if you want to build psychological resilience, you need to start with your body and actually build physical strength and physical resilience.
Yeah, that's good to know. Paying attention to all this very carefully, making notes.
Yeah, start now.
Bit late for something. Never mind.
It's never too late, James. It's never too late.
Okay, so the next one.
Yeah, so there's one final driver of change, but I think is probably, well, they're all important, but this one is a big one, and it's education. So we are not providing young people with these kinds of skills. In the West, we're over-educating, and we don't provide essential skills. So our young people here in the West are finishing education and they are not employable, and they have real shortfalls in their employability skills. And that's actually something which has been around for disturbingly long time. It's nothing new. And the top weaknesses are things like communication, problem working, team working, managing yourself. And this is a global, this is reflected in global surveys as well. So it's not just in the West. And you know, as we speak today, there are about 775 million adults worldwide who can't read or manage a bank account. And that's about 16% of the global population. So education is a big, big thing. So in developed countries, students are stuffed with too many complex things, you know, given where their lives are likely to go, given the kind of work they might be doing. So they tend to be overqualified. So university degree is not going to guarantee you a job, and it doesn't give you employability skills. So there's a huge issue with education. I could go on I could do a whole entire podcast just on education, but you know, I'm going to stop there. But there is a lot of issues with the way that we're educating at the moment.
That dichotomy is really fascinating. I think that's the idea that in certain parts of the world people are overeducated, in other parts of the world people are undereducated.
Exactly. Yes.
I think that's fascinating, and the impact of that is obviously going to be huge, isn't it?
Yes, and we're experiencing it. You know, we're experiencing it already. But it's a huge issue, and there's awareness of it. You know, there is awareness of the fact that people aren't employable and people don't have the skills they need. So there's an awareness, but there's not necessarily a focus on how to change that.
So, Emma Sue, can you tell us about your book?
Yes. So the book is called 7 Skills for the Future. And it is a second edition of a book I wrote a few years ago called The Advantage. And the book focuses on each of these skills that I've been talking about. So adaptability, critical thinking, empathy, integrity, being optimistic, being proactive, and being resilient. And each skill can be developed in different ways. So the focus of the book is really about, you know, what is the skill? Why do we need it? So I'll link back to those drivers of change. And how do you develop it? You know, how can you actually bring these skills into your life every single day so that you are aware of how you can be using them in your life and in your work? So there are lots of tips in the book and easy ways to develop the skills so that you are equipped to deal well with information overload, with technology, with embracing change and thriving despite uncertain or what you might feel are uncertain work options or uncertain future. Many people do feel the future is very uncertain. But I know that these skills help make the future more certain. And one of the things we crave as human beings is certainty. We actually do like certainty, which is why we hate change. But it's also about how to get your work-life balance right, how to get better at taking risks, making decisions, having great ideas, being resourceful, and just being happy, because that's what people want. They want to be happy. So the book is about all of those things.
Great. And where can we go to find out more about the book?
So you can go to the website Unimenta. Under Unimenta, you'll find 7 Skills for the Future. And if you go into there, you'll find not only information about the book, but loads of resources. So we've got all sorts of little worksheets and tips and ideas. And also, of course, you know, you can order the book there. But there are lots of things that can help you on the website as well. So do have a look at the website. And in this podcast series, I'm going to be talking a lot more about each of these skills and how you can develop them every day.
Great. And that's Unimenta. Can you spell that for us?
Unimenta, Unimenta. Unimenta. Yeah.
And that's a .com, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, great. So that's unimenta.com. Okay, so I think that just about wraps it up for today, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes. I'm looking forward to this podcast series and thank you very much for listening. You can find out more about all of this through following me on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find me under Unimenta or also under Emma Sue Prince. Thank you very much, James, for helping with this episode. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye for now.